one where we go in depth with the people who make Troy University a special place. And joining me now is our guest today, Dr. Priya Menon, a professor of English here at Troy University, a Fulbright scholar, the head of Troy University's Global Scholars Honors Program, and so much more. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you, Dr. East.
Yes, it's so nice to have you, and I'm so looking forward to getting to know you more as a person and an educator and a scholar. So tell us a little bit about your background and your experience before you came to Troy University.
Well, I grew up in India, in a state called Kerala. This is the southernmost tip of India, and it has a moniker or a nickname. It goes by God's own country, and it's true to that. It's just gorgeous. It's a beautiful state that is cocooned between the Arabian Sea on the one side and the Western Ghats. So, you know, it has a very unique geography, and I think it mirrors in the people and their attitude to life as well. So I grew up in that part of the world. Although I didn't go to school there, I went to school in a boarding school that was established by the British. Something like out of a Harry Potter scene, if you will, in a state called Tamil Nadu. You know, I would come back home often. My parents were in the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. My dad worked in Oman, so I traveled from India to Oman and back frequently. And then I had a master's degree in education and a master's in English. And then, you know, I was planning on doing something more in terms of my PhD when I met Govind, my husband, and then got married and then moved to Troy.
Well, and tell us a little bit about where you got your PhD and what that process was like.
So I actually came to Troy and got my master's in my education. Actually, my master's from India was in literature, and my master's is from Troy in education. And I got my PhD from Georgia State University in Atlanta in literary studies. And that's where I encountered some of the most challenging and well-informed theorist. My area of study is literary theory, and I was fascinated by the field, and I was guided by a very well-established team of professors there, and came back to Troy actually before my defense. 2 years into the program, I had completed my coursework, and Dr. Bill Thompson, the chair of the English department at that time, gave me a call and said, "Do you want to come and work for Troy?" And I said, "I'd love to," because someone who taught literary theory had left our department, and there was a vacancy. And he said, "Do you want to apply?" And I did, and I went through the interview process, and I was delighted when I was offered the job, and I haven't left since.
Well, for somebody like me who may not know exactly what literary theory means, you know, I know literary and theory, but when you put the two together, tell us a little bit about what that is.
Literary theory is a fascinating field, actually, which looks at literature through the lens of philosophy, linguistics, cultural studies, etc. So, you know, we look at a particular text. In fact, today we read, in my women's literature class, we read a very famous Brazilian author by the name of Clarice Lispector, and my students did a fabulous presentation on her as well. We look at it, so for example, we take a text such as that and we look at it through different lenses. And here we looked at it through the lens of second wave French feminism. What might it mean in terms of looking at a literary text through philosophical ideas and lens to understand how real lived experiences are mirrored in a work of fiction.
Well, were you somebody who read all the time growing up?
Yes, I loved reading, and I knew that I wanted to. You know, I loved space too. So, but I wasn't really good in mathematics. So, you know, I knew that I had to make a choice at some point. So back in India, unlike undergraduate studies here, you could make a choice in your first year of undergraduate studies. So you could either go into humanities, and you wouldn't have to take a single math course, and then you can get through your degree. So I chose English as my major. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I read all the time. I enjoy reading even now, so yes.
Well, what made you decide to get into the education field as well?
I had fantastic teachers. I had fabulous teachers, right from my school days, my undergraduate days, and I remember their names. I remember certain lines, and mostly in the field of English and literature. So that's perhaps one reason why I gravitated to that, because you have good teachers, and they sort of pique your interest, and you are fascinated by how they read, and what might it mean to become somebody like that, right? So they modeled a good career for me. So even in Troy, I've now they are my colleagues. Some of the best professors that I've encountered are in Troy, so I'm very grateful for them.
Well, speaking of teaching, you won the Ingalls Award for Teaching, which is the top award for teaching here at Troy. What did that mean to you when you won that award?
It was reassuring. I won it the second year that after joining Troy, and I was in the middle of writing my dissertation. I was going to have my child that April, so there was a lot going on. But when it's a student recommended award, so the students recommend you, and I think there is a committee that is formed. I really don't know how they choose the winner, but it was very, very exciting, and I'm very grateful to my students, and I continue to be grateful to them, because they bring in so much excitement, and they keep me updated as to what is going on in the world, and we are blessed in Troy to have a very strong and a wonderful group of students.
I absolutely agree. Yes, I've learned a lot about modern culture from my students as I get older, so I completely understand. What do you hope your students take away from the classes that they take with you?
So I teach literature, right? So literature holds up a mirror to life. So I hope, through the course of the 16 weeks that they engage with the text and with my class, they take away the fact that we are all human, and that with a little bit of effort we can empathize with one another, irrespective of where we come from, what we look like, and who we think we are. So just to extend a hand across the bridge, and to walk away with a deeper understanding of themselves and the ability that they have to give to another human being.
Well, one of the biggest things that you have done recently is you became a Fulbright scholar. So I want to talk about your entire experience with that. But first, for anybody who's watching and may not know what a Fulbright scholar means, tell us a little bit about that.
So the Fulbright program is the United States' #1 cultural diplomacy program, and it has certain different wings, right? So there's a Fulbright student program, but the one that I applied to, and the last time I was in this chair, I talked about that. The one that I applied to is the Fulbright Scholar Program, wherein faculty members are encouraged to apply to different parts of the world where they might have a research connection, and the Fulbright program enables you to travel to that destination fully funded, along with your family if you choose to, and carry on with your research work. And the beautiful thing about Fulbright is that once you get the award, there are really no ties attached in terms of they trust you to carry out your work. And that is very liberating in terms of the kind of paperwork typical grant awards require. I applied for it. I was encouraged by the OSP, our Office of Sponsored Program. as well as Dr. Fulmer, who was the provost for undergraduate studies during those days. And I applied for it, and I won. And then I went to India to do research in migration from this state that I talked to you about, Kerala, to Gulf Cooperation Council countries. So Fulbright enabled me. It was a transformative experience for me, as it is for more than I think they offer awards to more than 850 850 different types of awards to more than 120 countries, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a transformative experience for anybody to be able to travel abroad and not worry about infrastructure or financial burden that one might have in terms of conducting research in a different country. Along with that, the prestige of being a Fulbright scholar. Many heads of states, many Pulitzer Prize winners, MacArthur Fellows are indebted to the Fulbright program to have started their careers. So it was validating for us to have that award come to Troy. So it was a wonderful experience.
Well, that's what one thing I did want to ask you was your reaction when you found out, how excited were you? That is an amazing accomplishment.
I was excited. I think I ran around the English department, and I have wonderful colleagues. They were all, excited about it as well. So that was one of the first 8 personal grants that I had won. So it was a very important moment in my life. I don't think I'll ever forget it.
Yeah, that's a huge honor, and I know Troy was so incredibly proud of you for that. So tell us about your time in India. When did you go? How long were you there? Tell us about that.
So I left in 2018 in January. So my grant was for 6 months. So I went to Kerala, and I did a lot of interviews. I had a lot of interactions with people who travel to the Gulf Cooperation Council countries in search of work. The unique thing about this sort of immigration is that you cannot become a permanent resident of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. There is some sort of a window for people who earn certain salaries, but typically people who go from South Asian countries do not have access to citizenship. What might so my research question was, what might this mean for folks who travel, saying that they're going to go for 5 to 10 years and they're going to come back with some financial resources and then settle back home, but they never do. They continue to stay for 30, 35, 40 years. And this is the result of the oil boom of the 1970s in that part of the world, right? So what happens to their personal lives? Has it been recorded anywhere? They're away from their families. And this state, Kerala, sends them, but what kind of return does the state offer to these people who bring in a lot of resources from that part of the world, and as a result, it's a thriving economy back in Kerala. So my question was to look at it through the lens of literature. Has this been recorded in literature? If not, why? If yes, how has it been recorded? So I found that it is being recorded, but it is not widely disseminated. It is recorded in different forms. It is recorded in short stories. It is recorded in the native language of Kerala, which is Malayalam, which has not been translated to English. As a result, there isn't a wide readership for that literature. So I have collated all that. I have published based on that, and I am in the last sort of wing of completing a monograph on that.
Well, how did you come up with that? Is it something you had been thinking about for a while, this particular subject?
It is a result of a personal affection for people in Kerala, and my father, as I mentioned, was employed in Oman, which is a Gulf Cooperation Council country, and I've observed people traveling to and fro from the state. And he passed away in 2012. And when that happened, it is then that I realized that, and I wanted some sort of closure, and how it is when a loved one goes away. So I was looking for ways in which I could come to terms with his sudden demise, and this was my way of contributing to the kind of work he, along with thousands of people from Kerala, have undertaken for more than 35 years. So
that is absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.
Afterwards, you became a Fulbright ambassador.
Yes.
So tell us what you did in that role.
So they had sometime in 2000, I think 3 years ago, they had a call out for people who wanted to become an ambassador for the program. And I had some friends of mine who suggested that I send in an application, and I did. They got back to me, and there was an interview, and I was honest in the way I delivered the message that it was indeed a transformative experience for me, because it gave me access to so many doors that may not have opened for me as a researcher when I traveled back to India. After that, I'm still in contact with curators, artists, writers who may not have connected with me should there not have been a Fulbright attached to my vita. So I was honest with the interview board about this, and they selected me, and it has been wonderful to champion for the Fulbright program that has provided me with so much visibility. So it means that I travel to other academic institutions offering, and Troy as well, offering guidance in making or bringing visibility to the program and what it can do for your vita.
Well, we had Dr. Thrasher here, the Dean of the College of Communication and Fine Arts. We interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about his experience with the Fulbright program. So how does it make you feel as an ambassador to know that fellow people here at Troy are getting more involved and getting accepted to be Fulbright scholars?
Number one, our faculty are so very well accomplished. So it has got nothing to do with me. It is simply bringing that name of Fulbright to them. So we've had many applications over the past 2 years. Last year we had more than six applicants, and this current cycle we are still open. There are still IEA awards. We have again 6 awards as of now, and I'm sure that we are going to have 1 or 2 more. So it means that it has opened up another avenue for our faculty to engage their research with. And we had Dr. Michael Brennan, who is in the political science department, travel to Estonia. He was a winner from the last cohort. We are delighted in CCFA that Dr. Thrasher won the Educator Administrator Award to Germany, and I'm excited to hear what he had to say in the interview on his experience. But he did talk to us about how informative it was and how productive that has been. So it's been wonderful, and we hope that we can continue with that momentum.
Well, switching gears a little bit, you have just been named the head of Troy University's Global Honors Scholars Program. So tell us a little bit about what this means, what it is, and what this means for Troy University.
We had a Global Scholars Program as a part of the QEP for Troy University. We also have a University Honors Program. We also currently thrive. We have a thriving Troy Abroad program. So the QEP ends in 2025, and the university honors was run by Dr. Fulmer, who recently retired. I was brought in to establish this Global Scholars Honors Program that would collate these activities into one whole unit. Of course, Troy Abroad will still be with the international program, but we are going to use a segment of that in terms of we're going to send students for not just study abroad, but research abroad. So the purpose is to bring academic gravitas to our institution. Dr. Kerry Palmer, our Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, mentioned at our convocation that we are capable of and we have the resources here, be it faculty members or students, that can elevate our academic reputation, and I think this would be one area that that will benefit Troy, because we do have those students. I know, Dr. East, you teach in the journalism department as well. We have those brilliant students. What would it mean for us to collect them into a cohort and give them an exclusive experience wherein they meet the core components of the honors program in Global Scholars, which is academic rigor, offering them global perspectives, leadership development, some sort of community engagement, along with that, offer them personalized mentorship, wherein they are writing merit award applications, they are getting internship opportunities, and take them abroad for short-term research. Along with that, offering them personalized development. What might it mean for us to offer them etiquette classes? Offer them public speaking classes, wellness programs. Alert them to counseling. These are high-performing students, so we want to be able to guide them. I'd like to think about it as an equivalent of an academic football team, if you will, right? Provide them with all our resources so that they can shine bright as they should and bring that glory to reflect that glory on our institution.
Well, and as you've consolidated these programs, have you had a lot of good feedback from the faculty and administration here to bring this program together?
Absolutely. Our faculty have been on board. We have just come up with a curriculum for it. We hope to have the first cohort, the launch of the program in fall 2025. And upper administration, they've been really supportive. We had a Dean's Council meeting a couple of days ago. I had wonderful feedback, very supportive community. Dr. Hawkins has been very, very supportive. Dr. Palmer has been supportive. All the vice chancellors are on board. So we are going to succeed, and we are definitely going to go after those bright students in our state and abroad, and bring them to Troy, which is such a unique and wonderful place. And have them thrive and flourish here.
Well, since you brought up Troy being such a wonderful place, yes, the other day we interviewed your husband, Dr. Govind Menon, and talked about how you two have been a staple of Troy and just the impact both of you have had on this institution. So tell me a little bit about what Troy means to your family.
I'm grateful for Troy. So I met Govind in a totally different country, Oman, and when I met him, he spoke of Troy to be this very unique, charming city and town that has nurtured him from his undergraduate days. So it was, I was very curious to see, what kind of a place this is. And I knew everybody by their names even before I had met them. I was, very happy, and to have moved here. And once I came in here, the community has supported us in so many different ways. we've gone through major milestones in our lives in Troy, the birth of our daughter, my graduate study, the loss of Govind's parents and my father, all with the help of the Troy community, and we're extremely grateful to be here, and it's a very meaningful career that we have built here, and we're delighted to be here.
Well, we obviously are so delighted to have both of you here. And as we talk about the Global Scholars Program and bringing more Fulbright scholars from Troy and all over, what do you hope is the future, that how people will see Troy University in, say, 10, 15 years?
I think we have a bright future. I think we have brilliant faculty, we have extraordinary students, we have wonderful staff, and we are in the right track in terms of shining that spotlight on academics, and I think it's slowly starting to take root. Dr. Palmer often talks about an academic renaissance, and I think we have begun, and there is no stopping us. And 10, 15 years from now, I think we would be, when we go to a conference, for example, as faculty members, other conference attendees would not look at our name tag and ask us, where is Troy? I think they would recognize us, and that would be heartwarming.
Yes, I agree. I think Troy has a very bright future, and just everything that has been happening over the last few years, even since I have been here in the last 5 years, has truly been amazing. Because as we mentioned, I'm a Troy graduate as well, just like you, and it's been just fascinating to see it grow and blossom, and so I'm excited to see what the future holds for Troy.
Definitely.
And we'll have to have you back on next year after the launch of the Global Scholars Honors Program, so we can find out how things are going, and I know that you will be very successful with that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Priya Menon, for being our guest today. We appreciate it. And that's it for Trojan Vision One-on-One. We'll see you back here next time.